Okay, listen. I think there are three important things that you need to do if you are planning to own a business. And I'm going to give you two reasons why this is important. Why it's important to own a business if you live in a place like Accra. Okay, so Accra has been described as one of the most expensive cities to live in Africa. At the same time, Accra and Ghana in general is a place where the average salary of income earners or salary earners is low. Okay, so add that to the fact that the city that you live in, if it's Accra, is an expensive place to live, and you have two compelling reasons why you should own a side business if you are, even if you are fully employed or if you are unemployed. Okay, so I'm going to describe three things that I think are very critical that you do if you are planning to own a business. Okay, one, you need to carry out market research. You might have somebody that you know that tells you about a business idea that he or she thinks is very great, but you need to conduct your own market research. And the reason for doing that is because you need to align, and this here is very important. You need to align whatever business activity that you're planning to do with your passions. It has to be something that you're passionate about. And the reason for that is that most of the time when you begin a business, it's not easy to have profit the first few months or weeks that you begin the business. So there has to be something else that makes you carry on with the business, even if you're not seeing profit in the beginning. So it's important that you align whatever business activity that you're thinking about, or whatever business that you are thinking about engaging in, to your passions. It has to be something that you really like doing. Okay, so the monetary incentive should not be your primary motivation for beginning a business. I know that we run businesses for profit, so that's the whole idea of running a business, right? But to make you persist in the business in the beginning, even when you don't see profit in the beginning, is to have that interest in whatever activity that business entails, and that's the thing that's going to make you carry on with it in the rough times. Okay, and also you need to carry out market research about the business that you're thinking about engaging in, to see the prospects of that business. Okay, to see how the potential of that business, how scalable the business can be. Okay, now you do that, and so once you are sure about the prospects of the business, once you start the business and you don't see the initial profit, you know from the market research that you have conducted that this business is a great business idea. It has a lot of prospects. Okay, and it has the potential to grow. And so once you have that backup knowledge, it's easy for you to persist once you don't see the initial capital or initial profit. Okay, in the first few weeks that you start the business. Okay, or in months. Okay, and also you carry out the market research to find out, let's say that you are fully employed, you work from 8 to 5 o'clock in the evening. Okay, and you still need to carry out a business idea, so you need to find out how much time commitment that business idea would demand of you, and see whether you can make up that time to engage in that business. Okay, so it's very important. If you have an idea and you don't conduct the necessary market research about the business, you go in blind. You go into the business blind, and that can bring about a lot of disappointment because you did not carry out this market research. So that's important. And also, you do the market research so that you are able to assess how much funds you need to commit into the business. Okay, so for all these reasons, it's important to conduct a great market research about the business that you intend to go in. And I'm going to tell you about how I went about mine and the difficulties that I have encountered in it. So it's one thing knowing about a great business idea, knowing about or having interest in it, and it's another thing really conducting that research to know the practicalities of the business. Okay, what it's really about. That gives you a whole lot of information that you wouldn't have without conducting that market research. Okay, so the second thing that you also do, and I'm going to talk about the how I did my market research about the business that I wanted to get into, and the pitfalls that I discovered and all of that. Okay, in a bit. And the second thing that you do once you have a business idea that you want to get into is to write down a business plan. That is a big step. That is one thing that many people skip. They just go into the business straight on without doing all of these things, but these things are critical. So why is a market plan important? Because it's in this plan that you outline your goals. All right. So firstly, you outline the goals that you want to achieve with the business, and then you also write down the strategies for achieving these goals. Okay. And this is what is going to give you the path that you're going to follow. This is going to spell out the work that you need to do to make the business successful. So if you don't have that, you're not really, doing the right thing, and you're just doing things haphazardly. Okay, so you have your goals, you have your strategies for achieving the goals, and then you have your financial projections. How much do you expect to earn from the business? What is the potential of the business? That ties in with the prospects of the business that we talked about earlier. Okay, and so you have that. You have your financial projections, and then you also from that, you know how much work, as I've said, that you need to commit to the business. Let's say you want to retail bread, for example. Okay, so you know that maybe profit on a loaf of bread is 2 cedis. Okay, and then you make a goal that, okay, so you need to put in a strategy, for example, to probably sell about 25 loaves of bread a day in the initial stage of your business. Okay, so you know that once you're able to sell 25 loaves of bread in a day, that your financial projection would be that you would earn about 50 cedis in a day. Okay, so that's a goal. All right, and so when you are able to earn about 50 cedis in a day, you know that if you work 20 days in a week or 30 days in a week, you're going to earn about 1,000 cedis or about 1,500 cedis in a month on average. Okay, so that's a financial projection. From that, you know what work you are looking at, how much effort you need to put into your business to achieve those goals, and your strategies to be able to sell, for example, about 25 loaves of bread in a day. So these are clearly spelled out goals that you have written down that you work towards, and that is a plan for a great business. Okay, so the third thing that you do once you've decided to engage into business is that how do you, okay, talk about location. Where do you locate your business? Okay, so once you talk about location, you're looking at traffic, how you're looking at visibility, how your business is going to be seen by potential customers, so that you can have people trafficking to your business. So that's very important. Location is the thing. What I did in my case was that I wanted to engage in food sale business. Okay, and I am a full-time worker, so I had to strategize and find ways of getting this started, getting it off the ground. And the strategy was that since I could not be present in the business full time, I needed to have a few guys to come in to help me. Okay, so I did my market research, and I found out that it was very hard to retain reliable staff, and I needed just about a couple of people to help me out, 1 or 2 people to work the business, people that I would hire, pay to work in the business. Okay, just about 2 people. But I found out from my market research that it's difficult to retain reliable people, because they would come in and they would not stay. They were not reliable. You could not really rely on them for 5 days in a week. Okay, they would come today with an excuse, they'll be late, and so on. So that is one thing that I learned very quickly, that it happens with some of these people. And so I was advised to go out of town to get people, and that I was told that it was necessary, if I wanted to avoid that problem, to find people that would live in with me. Okay, so I had to go out of Accra to bring a couple of people out from out north. I brought in the initial person, and all the way from the north of Ghana, to live with me. So I was living with the person, feeding the person, taking care of the person, and that would make it easier for me to have access to the hired help or worker 5 days in a week or 6 days in a week. But it turned out that that wasn't even a safeguard against the unreliability of some of these workers, because they still run off. Some of them still decide not to stay, not because of work conditions, but because they come into Accra and they want to find other prospects. So they want higher salaries, or they want other places to work at, so it makes it very difficult to retain some of these people. So what I would say is that until you have really gone on the ground to put the business into practice, there are a whole lot of things that you will not learn about. Okay, so you need to get started, and it's when you start that you begin to learn how to navigate the business along the way. That's how it is. So you need to start. You cannot have prepare perfectly for any business idea that you want. Like I said, the business has to be small. It doesn't have to be a very big business. All that matters is that you have a product that you sell. It has been said in the past that for people that work full-time in various places of employment, what you're doing is that you're selling your time, okay, for money, but that doesn't pay much. So you might have spent so many years in school to learn a particular skill, to become a professional, and yet the salary doesn't make ends meet. Okay, you can also find time to set up a small business on your own that can bring you a little income, and then you learn as you go along through that business that you have. But it is necessary that you really have multiple streams of income, no matter what. There are difficulties in running a business. There are difficulties with funding. There are difficulties with staffing. There are difficulties with time, what time that you can commit to the business, and all of that. These are things that these are obstacles that you always have to cross once you begin a business. But the returns outweigh all these problems that you face, honestly. And so it is important that you are able to commit to that idea that you have and put it to practice. Okay, so what I was trying to describe in my case was that I had to, when I did my little market research about the kind of business that I wanted to get into, I needed just a couple of people to begin with. And so I had to bring in somebody from out of town. And the reason why I had to do that was because I discovered very quickly that the major problem that many people have with small businesses is retention of staff. Okay, so once you begin the business, you might be paying people out of your salary, because the business itself might not have started gaining profit. Okay, so you do that, but it's not easy to retain some of these people that you bring in initially to run the business. So these are problems that you face. I was advised that it was easier to retain the staff if you brought them from out of town, so that they lived with you, because the problem was that they wouldn't be regular at work and so on, and that is very detrimental to developing a new business. Okay, so I had to bring in somebody from out of town, and you can do that, but I'm telling you that, to be honest, it entails more work, because you need to find a place for the person to live, or probably to let the person live with you, and you feed the person, who is a worker that you're going to pay at the end of the month. Okay, so it's something that you negotiate about, and if you are prepared to do that, that's an option. But it is not foolproof against the workers not being unreliable, because what I found in my experience when I was doing my market trial was I had to go through all that process, and I brought somebody from up north, but it wasn't still easy to retain them, because they have other people that they link up with once they get here to Accra, and they might run off or give you some sort of excuse that they're going back to their hometowns and so on. But no, they go somewhere else to find some other job to do and all of that. So these are things that you're gonna encounter once you begin a small business, depending on the kind of business that you want to engage in. Okay, and then it gets to a point where you have to decide whether to resign from your day job if you feel, after your market research, that the side job that you want to start has so much prospect that you can afford to leave your regular day job, monthly job, and concentrate full time in the business. That pays if you are sure, but you can only do that, especially if you're a breadwinner in the family, a person that has a whole lot of responsibility, looking after your kids and so on. It's a big decision to make to leave your regular job and then concentrate full time on a new business that you've started, unless you are certain, 100% certain about the prospects of that business. And this is another reason why it's particularly important to have this market research before you begin your business. Okay, so the three important things to remember is to conduct this market research about the business that you want to engage in, and also and also once you have done the market research about the business, you write down your business plan, and it's your business plan that's going to direct you along the way, what to do, what not to do to grow the business. And then location is the third most critical thing. Location counts. Okay, so you might have a very successful business idea, a very prospective business idea, but if you pick the wrong location for the business, that might kill the business, just because. So if you are able to go through step 1, step 2, and miss step 3, wrong location, that can also kill the business. So these three things are critical. Okay, market research, location, business plan, and then location. These three things are very, very critical once you decide to own your own small business. Okay, but I'll tell you that it's worth it. It's important. It is critical that you try to own a small business on the side, because to be frank with you, through my market research, I discovered that a whole lot of people engaged in small private businesses are big earners, all right? But you wouldn't see from the look of it. You might think that your day job pays you well, but once you begin to engage in these small businesses, you realize that perceptions might be deceptive, because many of these women that you see by the roadside selling stuff on tabletops earn better than many people engaged in office work who have degrees and so on. Okay, but it doesn't show. They take trotro, they live very low-key lives, and so it might be difficult for you to really look by their appearances that the kind of money that they earn at the end of the month. Okay, and some of them have huge responsibilities as well, so they keep earning great money, but they keep dishing out a lot of money too, so it doesn't show that they earn a lot of money. But if you were able to earn that kind of money, you see that it makes a big difference. It makes a lot of difference. Okay, and so I would advise that no matter the obstacles, it's very important that you try to own a small business on the side. So don't forget 3 steps. Okay, do market research, write your business plan, find your great location, and then get started.